Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathashala. I am Professor P. Bhaskar Reddy, Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati, the Principal Coordinator of the subject Indian Culture and also Course Coordinator for the paper Outlines of Indian History. In this module, you are going to learn about Harshavardhana, the great ruler of ancient India. The learning objectives are sources, political condition of North India at the accession of Harsha, early history of the Harsha family, his life and career, military achievements, his administration, religious policy, society and economy under Harsha, and his contribution to learning and education. Let us know about the importance of the Harsha rule in India. After the fall of the Gupta Empire, political disorder occurred for more than a century. The subsequent period saw the emergence of numerous dynasties. Among the dynasties that rose to prominence, the Pushyabhutis of Taneswar was important. Particularly, Harshavardhana's accession to the throne heralded a new age in the history of ancient India. The sources for the study of Harshavardhana are many. Bana's Harshacharita, Harsha's Ratnavali, Nagananda and Pridarsika, they form authentic source to know about the political events of Harshavardhana. Besides, the Madhuban and Banskera copper plates issued by Harshavardhana are providing interesting information about various aspects. Particularly, the Banskera inscription issued by Harshavardhana with his own signature. The Aihola inscription of Pulakeshin II also provide information about Harsha's conflict with the Badami Chalukyan ruler. The coins of Harsha also form an authentic source to know about aspects of economic history as well as cultural history. In addition to the indigenous literature, Huinsang account is also important to know about Harshavardhana and his contribution to religious activities. During his stay in India, Huinsang wrote several accounts about Indian culture, its diversity, religious activities and others. Already we mentioned that after the decline of Guptas, there was a political confusion and obscurity in northern India. The political unity brought by the Guptas broke out. As a result, the subordinates of the Guptas carved out independent principalities. Among the independent principalities, the Mukharis rose to power at Kanauj. Isana Varman was the remarkable king of that family. Maitrakas of Vallabhi also established their authority in Saurashtra. The Gaudas of Bengal asserted their independence. Shashanka was the most powerful king of that family and he played a pivotal role in the politics of North. Gurjaras, another dynasty, founded a small kingdom in southern Rajasthan and northwestern provinces. In this political confused status, Pushyabhutis of Staneswar rose to prominence and strengthened and consolidated their power in the beginnings of 7th century. So far, we discussed about the sources, the political situation in North India before the rise of Pushyaputis. Now, we can concentrate to discuss about the Pushyaputis and their role in the history of early medieval India and the greatness of Harshavardhana. Pushyaputi was the founder of this family. They called themselves as Vardhanas. They assumed independence after the Hun invasions, and they came to limelight under the dynamic rule of Prabhakara Vardhana. He is the first family member and played an important part in giving direction, status and stability to the Pushyaputi family. Thaneswar, north of Delhi, was the capital. Prabhakara Vardhana waged successful wars against the Malwas, Huns and also Gujrats. To consolidate his position, he contracted matrimonial alliances with Mukharis of Kannauj, where he gave his daughter Rajyasri in marriage to Mukhari king. Thus, during the time of Prabhakara Vardhana, the Pushyaputis rose to prominence and they established their power around Thaneswar. Regarding the Harsha's life and career, we have interesting details. Harsha was the son of Prabhakara Vardhana. He had elder brother Rajavardhana and sister Rajyasri. Rajavardhana and Harshavardhana was successful to fight against the Huns during his father time. Unfortunately, while the war was going on with the Huns, the Prabhakara Vardhana was dead. In these circumstances, Rajavardhana ascended the throne of Thaneswar in 605 Christian era. But since the beginning, he faced so many problems. The Devagupta of Malwa, assisted by Shashanka, killed Grahavarman and imprisoned his sister Rajyasri. So, Rajavardhana, to take revenge, marched against Devagupta and defeated. After this success, while he was returning to his empire, he was treacherously murdered by Shashanka of Bengal. At this critical juncture, Harsha succeeded his brother at Thaneswar at the age of 16. Thus, Harshavardhana, in the miserable situation, he ascended the throne in 606 Christian era and ruled up to 647. Harsha commemorated his accession of the throne by founding Harsha era, which became popular in early medieval India. During his time, he extended his authority in all directions. He defeated the Shashanka of Bengal, who was involved in the murder of his father, and also saved his sister, who was in prison. He defeated the Devagupta and occupied Magadha region. These two acts helped Harsha to unite the Thaneswar and Kannauj. Thus, Kannauj became the center of political activity during the time of Harshavardhana. He maintained a friendly relationship with the kings of Kamarupa and also Sri Lanka. It is said to be that he brought the 5 Indies under his control. He conducted successful war against the Maitrakas of Vallabhi and finally concluded with matrimony. He established his control over Kashmir and Ganjam regions. Though Harsha was successful in many wars, but he suffered defeat in Deccan in the hands of Pulakesin II. The Huyen Sang's account and also the Aihola inscription of Pulakesin II confirm the defeat of Harsha in the hands of Pulakesin II. One of the important aspects of his reign is the visit of Huyen Sang, the Chinese pilgrim. On the whole, Harsha established his hold over whole of northern India. Thus, he once again brought political unification in northern India in some extent in the 7th century AD. Harshavardhana, after exercising his rule over Kannauj for nearly 40 years, he died in the year 647 Christian era. That's the Harshavardhana's rule came to an end. It paved the way once again political disorder in early medieval India. Now we can turn our attention to know about the contribution of Harshavardhana to cultural activities. Harshavardhana's rule is more important than the political activities because he contributed to the Indian culture in various aspects. He provided a systematic administration. He observed a peculiar religious policy. He promoted the educational activity and literary activity in great extent. Thus, the Harsha's contribution to Indian culture is everlasting. Regarding the administrative system that was followed by Harsha, he was a pivot of administration and he efficiently governed his empire. King was the head of the state. He was assisted by a council of ministers headed by Bandi. The empire, for the sake of administrative convenience, divided into Bhukti, Vishaya, Pataka and Grama. The local administration was independent of the center. That seems the villages have their autonomous administration. Salaries of the officials were paid in the form of land grants. The main source of the state was crown lands, that is revenue derived from land tax. He maintained a vast standing army and criminal law was very severe. He punished minor offences with fine and conducted royal tours frequently to be in touch with the people. Harshavardhana followed a peculiar religious policy. In the initial stages, he was the follower of Saivism, later converted to Buddhism. As a patron of Buddhism, he erected number of stupas, viharas and monasteries. Particularly, Nalanda became the center of Mahayana school of Buddhism. Once in 5 years, he convened religious assemblies by inviting the religious personalities and honored them with munificent gifts. Among that, he organized assembly at Kannauj. In that assembly, he honored the Huyen Sang, who was a Buddhist of that day, He also conducted Prayaga Assembly, which it was attended by 5 lakh people. Harsha himself participated in this assembly along with Huyen Tsang. In the course of that assembly, the images of Buddha, Aditya and Ishwaradeva were installed. The Maha Moksha Parishad was conducted for nearly a month. In this Maha Moksha Parishad, large sums of money are given as a gifts to the religious personalities. When the treasury was exhausted, he himself gave away his personal belongings and also ornaments. That shows about the generosity and also the religious toleration observed by Harsha. Though he was a primary patron of Buddhism, but he invited all the religions to participate in the assemblies, including the subordinate families. Thus, he tried to bring religious unity among the people of India. And see how the Harshavardhana receiving the Chinese traveler Huyen Tsang in the assemblies, and also the gifts presented to Huyen Tsang and Harshavardhana by Kumara Bhaskara, the king of Kamarupa. The paintings are beautifully depicted to indicate how the assemblies were conveyed and the gifts were given to religious personalities. Regarding the social and economic conditions of the period, Varna system continued to play a dominant role in the social order. People belonging to the first 3 social orders enjoyed power and status. Huyen Tsang describes the Sudras as agriculturists. Women of the period enjoyed considerable freedom in political and social life. The Rajashree is a best example how she played an important role in the political activities of Harsha. Courtesans and Buddhist nuns enjoyed socio-religious freedom during this period. Agriculture, industry, trade prospered and flourished. The development in trade and industry resulted in the emergence of cities during the time of Harsha. Kannauj became an important center of political, economic as well as cultural center. The important contribution of Harshavardhana is in the field of learning and literature. This period witnessed hectic literary activity in both learning and education. He was a great patron of learning and he himself was a scholar in Sanskrit language. Bana, the author of Harshacharita and Kadambari, was his court poet. Nalanda became a prime center for the educational activities during the Harsha time, which it was constructed by the Gupta king Kumaragupta. During his time, he provided free education, boarding and lodging facilities to the students. The professors of the university were called Pandits. The famous scholars who served in the Nalanda University are Dignaga, Dharmapala, Stiramati and Shelabhadra. They are the renowned scholars of the day who served in the Nalanda University. The university specialized in the study of Mahayana doctrine besides other disciplines. To promote the learning activities through Nalanda University, Harsha donated vast sums of money. The splendid buildings of the Nalanda University, its extensive curriculum, unique educational atmosphere, students coming from distant places, diffusion of knowledge by way of discussions, profound scholarship of teachers, and taught what the pride of this age. So far, we discussed about the Pushyabhuti family, starting from Prabhakara Vardhana, and we also discussed about the Harshavardhana, his career, his achievements, and his contribution to cultural development in that period. Now, in a conclusion, we can say that the 7th century in India is the age of Harsha. His reign marks an important epoch in Indian history and culture. In conclusion, in the words of H.G. Rawlinson, soldier and administrator, unwearied in his efforts for the good of his subjects, pious and merciful, a patron of literature and himself a poet, he stands forth on the page of history a bright and fascinating figure. Thus, Harsha rule is memorable period in the history of ancient India. Thank you for your patience listening.